Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
You know, last time I talked to Stone Cold Steve Austin, we were at 316 Gimmick Street, and I've turned the tables. I've got Steve Austin in my house now. Steve, welcome back.
Thank you. Are you going to say what's the haps?
Of course I'm going to say what's
break the ice?
Of course I'm going to say it.
Okay, say it.
First question. What's the haps?
Oh, thanks for asking. Now I'm all loosened up, ready to go. Oh, Sam, just out here cruising around New York City. The weather's kind of bad today. A little bit rainy outside. We did the Today Show. We were going to go outside and do some challenges. We kind of had to stay in the studio, so put a little bit of a damper on that. But just making the rounds, talking about Broken Skull Challenge. And also, by the same token, talking about Redneck Island, another show that just kicked off on CMT. Having a blast hosting both of those shows.
What's the difference between the two shows? Because
Big
people,
difference.
because I go like, yeah, he's talking about Broken Skull Ranch, and they go, what happened to Redneck Island? I go, there's Redneck Island too.
Right. Well, Broken Skull Challenge is, those are elite athletes. Those are badasses. I've got national champion amateur wrestlers, Spartan racers, Tough Mudders, some of the best obstacle course racers in the world. These CrossFit pro grid athletes. I mean, this is what they do.
Right.
They have regular jobs, but I mean, they train so much they might as well be pro athletes. So this is season 3, and based on the last few seasons, man, they started studying some of the things that I've thrown at them. And we changed a lot of the challenges now, but they're coming down to do head-to-head battles.
So they're watching the previous seasons.
Yes.
Figuring out how to get ahead and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, my returning champion right now is a guy named N. He studied the Skullbuster, studied Tommy's time, and trained at intervals so that he knew where he had to be almost to a scientific fashion to beat the course. And he succeeded. And then on Redneck Island, man, I got 24 people from the South. They're just great kids. They booze it up. The competitions, the challenges this year are a lot harder than they were in seasons past.
Yeah.
Kind of shocked them in the beginning. They didn't know what they were getting into.
Right.
So, these days, they're not showing up with as many hangovers because the competition is a lot stiffer than it was.
Did you ever watch that show, Pressure Luck?
No,
You know, like
yeah,
whammy, stuff. I don't know if you ever, because when you were talking about people figuring out Broken Skull Challenge, it reminded me of this clip of because you having to stay one step ahead of him. There's this clip of this guy who figured out how the puzzle worked when it went around the board, and he stayed there for hours, just like stop, and they owed him like 6 figures by the time he had to go home.
But
So
we throw enough changes over there. Man, there's some different water-based challenges, and I think we've gone through 2 of those. They're totally epic, and then we changed up a few of the other challenges. So right when they think they have all of the pieces figured out, they don't have all of them because we keep changing things around.
Right. That's like a Roddy Piper quote.
Makes it fresh.
When you've figured out all the answers, I change the questions.
See, something to that effect.
Yeah. How great is it for you, after everything you've been through, to assign other people to do these physical tasks?
Oh, man, let's take a Broken Skull Challenge. We shoot that show 50 miles out of L.A., so I have this badass 45-foot camper with 4 slides on it, and it's world class. I've got a gym out there, and now I have a 40-foot cargo container out there where I've got my Kawasaki mule, I've got my gym. So I stay out there on location, and I'm on a 180-acre movie ranch with access to a couple thousand acres to ride around on, and it doesn't, you don't want to drive back and forth through traffic, so I just go home on the weekends, pack all my meals. So, dude, when I do that job, it's a tough job because you're on a mountain filming in the desert. Sometimes there'll be frost on the ground in the morning, cold as hell, but then 2 hours later, it's 100 degrees. It's like working on a sandblaster, but it's like being on a paid vacation, hanging out with these, national caliber athletes. And then on Redneck Island, I'm on a house on the lake with a Kawasaki jet ski. I've got, Lake Hartwell to ride around on. I do my work. I go do my thing. I still got to do my 2 podcasts.
Right.
So it's not like it's all fun and games.
Yeah.
I get a chance to be in the outdoors, which is what I love. But cranking out 2 podcasts along with a full shoot schedule sometimes is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, because when I look at what you're doing now, it seems you more than any other guy that's come out of the wrestling business is just doing the things that he wants to do. But you've also signed yourself up for so much of what you want to do that now you're owed 2 series, 2 podcasts a week. Like, I think you're a lot busier than people realize.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's funny because I always reserve November, December, and part of January to go down to the ranch, the real Broken Skull Ranch in South Texas, and hunt. And so I've got to, manage my deer herd down there. But during the process of that, it rained so much. Me and my buddy Ted swap off on a tractor. This is a big-ass tractor with a 15-foot mower on it. It's air conditioned, but for 2/3 of the deer season, we mowed every single day, fixed all the fences, went hunting, worked out, did 2 podcasts. So, hell, I worked harder in South Texas on my vacation than I do on my real job.
So is that a legit thing? Did you go to WWE and they're like, we want you to do a podcast every month? You're like, that's cool, but I'm out here for 3 months, so you're going to have to fly people to me.
It was real cool of them to do that because they didn't have to. But they know, and my agents know, once I get at the ranch, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
So they flew Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair down, and it was cool enough to change up the atmosphere a little bit. And I think I got a podcast coming up with those guys very soon on the 15th in Anaheim, so that'll be an easy gig.
Right.
But
do you like better taping them at the ranch or doing them live in an
I like
arena?
taping them better at the ranch because, man, you're out there at my place and we're
Right.
just kicking it. And it's a little bit much more relaxed vibe.
And it's like they're coming in, they're doing your show, they're coming into your house. You don't have, because there is this thing when you're doing an interview with somebody in somebody else's house, like you're going to WWE's place to interview a WWE guy, so there's just this kind of vibe where all of a sudden you're a guest on your own show.
And you know how it was at my house when you came by 316 Gimmick Street.
Yeah.
Dude, we just sat across from a table from each other with 2 microphones and just shot the breeze.
Right.
And it was a very chill thing. All of a sudden, when you put the fact that this is, that was a 3-camera shoot, whatever they got, and they'll have a little TV screen in the background. They'll show a little footage here and there. Hey, man, to me, a podcast is an audio experience. When you make it into a video experience, I mean, it's not like I'm Johnny Carson or Jay Leno or anything like that. I'm just here talking to this dude.
Right.
So they're really 2 different things.
All of a sudden you're accountable for the visual.
Well, I mean, you got to throw in a little bit of if not, dare I say, a performance aspect of it.
Yeah, sure. And they're looking at your facials and they're looking at everything to make sure that, like, oh, what's he really saying? And you're like, I thought I was just talking.
But like when we were talking, when you get animated and you're talking, I mean, it almost is a performance, but it's just audio.
Right. And you don't have to think about that part of it.
Exactly.
And the fact that there's also a thing, I think, especially for like you, who's only done podcasting, not like live radio, where you're sitting there, not that you'll ever edit, but just in case, it's there.
Dude, man, my girl, Stacy, trims so much garbage out of my show. I'll stop, stutter. Hey, Stacy, take that back or whatever. And, you're able to get away with that. I'm not a broadcasting professional.
Uh-huh.
Hell, I'm an ex-wrestler as a podcast. And I keep it, very guerrilla style. And I never want to be, you always want to get better at something, but I'm not trying to be, NPR radio or whatever it is.
Right. And I mean, and there's something nice about knowing you're doing it your style in your house. Like this is
well, and there's no format. I do whatever the hell I want.
Exactly.
Yeah, no one tells me what to do. When you go do one of their podcasts, there's a little bit of agenda there.
Right.
So which takes a little bit of my creative freedom away from me.
And that they got when they're throwing up the photos and everything like that. Does that mean like you're going over topics in advance, or is there somebody on the Google image like?
Yeah, a little bit of that goes in there. Whereas you've been to my house, I fly by the seat of my pants.
Right.
And so I will do my homework too.
Of course.
But still, when you have a little bit of micromanagement going on, it discombobulates a human being.
But that's why I like doing it at your house, because I can come at you with what's the haps, and as we're talking, you're just sitting there thinking, and you go, I'm coming up with my own catchphrase, and then you throw what the fuck at me, and it works.
It does.
But I don't know if you could do that on the network.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Do you have anybody, do you even think when you're doing podcasting now, you've been doing it for a few years, are there people that you're like, man, I'd like to get him on the podcast, or is it just kind of a casual, I get my buddies when I see him?
Yeah, it's really casual, man. I was I didn't see The Revenant yet, but I'd be like, man, it'd be neat to talk to Leo DiCaprio about that, because here's a guy who's like a premier actor, didn't have to put himself in such a harsh role, but he did.
Yeah.
And he totally kicked ass in it. So he'd be a neat guy to talk to. But man, and here's the reason it's called the Steve Austin Show. Well, just like the Sam Roberts Show, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't have to interview anybody if I don't want to. I could read poems on my podcast if I wanted to, because I'm my own boss.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to do that, but I can make up any kind of thing. Whatever I do, I just want to be able to take someone for an hour to hour and a half ride to make them forget about a few problems, or give them some information about some things. Like for today, yesterday's podcast was someone sent me in a email, and it was about, hey, was this one of the loudest pops you ever got? And it was from '99 when Rock wrestled Mankind, and Mankind won that World Heavyweight title that night. I made a run in. DX was around the ring. Corporation was around the ring.
Right.
And those guys built that match up. And the guy just sent me a clip of that match. I don't live in the past. but I watched the pop. He gave me the time code at 10 minutes and 50 seconds. I said, okay, that was cool. That was a badass pop. Everybody jumped out of their seat. But I said, well, let me watch the match and see what it's all about. Man, those two guys crushed it. So I had a podcast yesterday where I broke down that match, and I'd hit the pause button. I'd say, okay, I'm paused at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Here's what's going on with The Rock, and here's what's going on through Mick Foley. Watch what Mick Foley's doing here with position. He was getting the hell beat out of him, and he was opened up for Rock, and then he was staggered on, kind of on the mat, and then he came to a vertical base for Rock, giving that last shot to knock him down.
Yeah.
It was just, I broke that match down.
And that's great.
And it's audio. You can drive to work, but you can damn near visualize what I'm saying.
Right.
And then when you do get home, you sync them up and listen to it, and you get the 411 on what's happening.
That's exactly what I would do. I mean, I think I told you had Johnny Mundo, John Morrison on your podcast, and you just sitting there kind of breaking down for him what you thought of his match with Prince Puma on Lucha Underground. I was like, that's exactly it, just listening to how your brain works as you watch the match, and it's nice to know that's there. You were talking about, like, stuff from that era, and right before the Rumble this year, the day before, I turned on, because everybody talks about the 92 Rumble. I turned on the 99 Rumble for the first time in, I don't know, probably 15 years to watch it. And there is more storytelling going on in that 99 Rumble from every different angle that you can come from than I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't believe it. Everybody, like, from you and Vince having this thing going on over here, the match is over here, Undertaker's doing this over here, Kane's got straitjackets chasing him over there. And I'm like, there is nothing like this going on. Everybody's got a reason to be there. There's 4 different stories being told. It's like you could never watch wrestling a day in your life, and you're getting sucked in by this thing.
Who ended up, was that the one Vince won?
Vince won it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because you're like, okay, it's predictable, Austin wins, and then Vince is sitting there.
Great. Hey, but speaking of wrestling, and yes, there were those, and here's the thing that people don't really understand about a Royal Rumble or any battle royal in general. They're hard matches to work.
Right.
And so, man, you've got the squared circle, and all of a sudden, guys just start buying time, and it's the old, I'm going to grab you, and I'm going to try to get you over the top rope, but I just can't get you. And then here comes another guy because he's got his thumb up his ass, so he needs to go join in, and the two guys can't get the one guy over the rope, and then finally they do, but he lands on an apron and rolls back in. It's just time-killing stuff that's been done a million times.
Right.
So they're very hard matches to work, to be able to find a creative way to get all your stuff in. And so many people this year, the Royal Rumble, what did you think?
I thought the Royal Rumble was better this year than I've seen it in a really long time.
Okay, but my point is, it was okay, but most of the guys that ran in didn't go in there, and obviously we can use a little bit of language on this show,
absolutely,
and get their shit in. Hey, man, get on fire, go around, make the rounds, knock a dog shit out some people.
That's a great point. It didn't build anybody. Nobody came out looking stronger.
Nobody come out and got their shit in and got over.
You're right.
You watch the guy come out there like a house of fire and just start going crazy, and boom, you can make yourself in a Royal Rumble if you're smart enough to do it.
And it's been done before.
Yeah,
many
because
times.
You can get tossed out. You don't have to win it to get over.
Huh.
Hey, but speaking about wrestling, Lucha Underground season premiere just this past weekend. I know you're a big wrestling guy. Were you able to catch the premiere of Lucha Underground?
I can only watch clips because I don't have it on my cable.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's off to a real good start.
Yeah.
You got to check it out. I just think it's a great alternative because the way they present what they do, you know it's a television show. Yeah. So you buy in. Yeah. And it's
I was saying that actually last week. It's like the first time I've seen them able to pull off, because you see them try to get wrestling into a movie or into a TV show, and it either takes it too seriously or it insults the fans or it doesn't work. It's the first time I've ever seen it work where it is a TV show and it's different, but it's still like for wrestling fans.
I think you can find they did a clip of Vampiro. He was like coming out of an insane asylum. He's going to have these these pills that he was going to have to take. And, he's in this maximum security prison, and they finally release him. And then, who was it, Matt Stryker picks him up out in the desert in this badass Cadillac. And I'm thinking, I'm watching this, about a 5 or 7 minute vignette, and Vampiro does Hodgkinson does a great job in his acting role. I'm thinking, shit, Vampiro just got him a badass action series. And then it goes, and he's still announcing he's doing color commentating. But, I mean, it was so well done. I was like, goddamn, somebody's already got him a show. Right. It was awesome. And now it just goes to everything's all about doing business. There at the temple, they brought in another gal, I forget her name, along with Dario Cueto, whatever his name is. But it's just it's an interesting product because of the presentation of it allows you just to totally buy in because it is what it is.
Before I let you go, because you got another thing going on, what do you think of what AJ Styles has done?
Man,
WWE.
saw him. He got on fire. Who'd he beat the shit out of?
On the Miz?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he got to explode on Miz. I thought in his match with Jericho, he needed to shine more in that match, and he needed more fire. And so that's what I wanted to see out of him. And I've seen some of AJ's work in Japan. The guy's badass. So I think he's a little nervous or trepidatious going into the Federation. All of a sudden, man, you got these guys. It's got to land to the Giants. You got a lot of big dudes there again in that territory.
But do you think for someone like that, the only way to survive is to come in being like, I'm AJ Styles, I'm a star, I need to go out there and be a star immediately?
Yeah, but I just think, I don't know if he need to shave or he need to do something, but, man, he's got to get his stuff in. He's got to get his shit in inside the ring, but he's got to have more fire because he's not the biggest guy in the world. He does some dynamic stuff. He's a great hand. So I would love to see that guy make a major run in the territory, but he's got to have more fire. He's got to do more AJ Styles shit.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to let you go back to your day. Everybody needs to watch Broken Skull Challenge. That's what's coming back.
It's the baddest, toughest, coolest show on TV, Sam Roberts, and that's the bottom line.
Well, I mean, goddamn, if Stone Cold Steve Austin is the one promoting it, if Stone Cold Steve Austin is the one hosting it, I don't see why anybody wouldn't be watching it. Am I right?
And since I'm about to ride off in the sunset, can I just plug Redneck Island?
Plug it,
Thursdays,
Redneck Island.
10, 9 Central on CMT. Bunch of damn rowdy-ass rednecks drinking beer, moonshine, and I'm having fun out there with my co-host, Melissa Rycroft, and it's a badass show. But at the end of the day, check out Broken Skull Challenge because that son of a bitch is pure hell.
So check it out. And Stone Cold's got his own beer.
Oh,
finally.
Yeah, Broken Skull IPA.
So check out Broken Skull IPA. I know.
When are you coming back to L.A.? Because we're supposed to do cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I know. We got to have a cheat day, right?
Yeah.
We got it. Maybe
Dude,
we'll.
I've been having so many cheat days since last time I saw you. I'll eat a hamburger with you, but then I got to drop about 15.
Well, then do it. We should do it while you're in New York. We'll hit up Popeyes.
If I get time my schedule, I'll come back.
Let me know.
Okay.
Let me know. Thanks, Stone
Thanks for
Cold.
having me, Sam.
Hey, it's Sam Roberts. I hope you enjoyed that wrestling interview from Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. You can go to notsam.com to subscribe to that podcast. But I upload videos like that on this YouTube channel all the time. So if you don't already subscribe, subscribe now. It's on the side of the page. I made it real easy. Click the button. Subscribe to the page. Subscribe to the page.